accountability, though, doesn't just lie with the executive branch. We also need to foster more accountability for members of Congress. When I ran, I said that I was going to decline the health care and the pension. And as soon as I got to office my first week, I made good on that promise. I'm one of very few who are willing to do that. But I don't think it's fair for us to be legislating burdens so that you have worse health care while we end up having a better deal. It's not what the Founding Fathers intended, and it's not acceptable in a government of by and for the people. Now, I also noticed as we got into this argument about sequestration and, quote, across-the-board budget cuts, they weren't across the board at all. One of the things that was omitted was pay for members of Congress. And so I introduced a bill to impose the sequestration cuts on our pay, consistent with the 27th Amendment to the Constitution. We should not be exempting ourselves from laws that apply to other people. And I think that it would be something that would be good if we could push it. I have had some people join me with it, but there are some people, they don't want their pay touched. They believe that they're entitled to some of these privileges. Nancy Pelosi says it's so hard to be a member of Congress because you're not paid what you're worth.
She's not worth anything.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, so having submitted this law, having tried to lead by example with the pension and the health care, I read a report that members of Congress in both parties have been discussing ways to exempt themselves and their staffs from the effects of Obamacare. Congress has a 10% approval rating. It's actually hard to do worse than 10% because you have enough friends and family and other associates that it's actually hard to go beneath 10%. But if I had to advise members of Congress on a way to actually go beneath 10%, what I would have picked was exempting yourself and your staff from Obamacare. So I think this is totally unacceptable. It was driven mostly by Democrats, but Republicans are interested in it too. And so what I'm going to do, and I would have done it this week, but we had the Benghazi news and some other things, is with me in the lead, with many of my colleagues supporting, introducing what I hope will be the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. And it's very simple. Congress shall make no law against the citizens of the United States which does not also apply to members of Congress. Having something like that matters, not even because it will necessarily ever generate a court case, but because it speaks to the type of character of the government that we have. If you read this Constitution, you'll see a clause that hardly anyone ever speaks about right now. It's a ban on titles of nobility. The Founding Fathers didn't believe that there was royalty. They believed everyone was created equal. Yes, people could rise based on their merit, but they weren't going to be given special recognition based on rank or birth. And I think this amendment would be something similar. And it's actually something that the Founding Fathers wrote about. They expected the Constitution would be used to prevent these types of special exceptions. So I think it would be something that would be healthy. So I think the question for us is, are we still, as Lincoln said, a government of, by, and for the people? The Democratic Party is not dedicated to the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. They are dedicated to progressivism by any means necessary. If that means pass the bill to find out what's in the bill, then they will do that. If that means appoint activist judges who will rewrite the Constitution, then they are more than happy with doing that. If that means demagogue and pit one American versus another, they will absolutely do that. They are interested in pursuing progressive ends, and they are interested in the pursuit of power. So that leaves the Republican Party as really the only chance to save the country and right the ship. And I got to tell you, it's an imperfect vehicle for that once you get to Washington. I really appreciate what everyone here did and the hard work that people did in this county, not only for me, but for Mitt Romney. But I got to tell you, once you get inside the Beltway, the difference between some of these professionals who are R&D are less stark than you might imagine. And many of these political consultants make a lot of money off peddling, I think, false narratives to different people in positions of power. And so the challenge is to defeat Democrats and liberals, but the challenge is also to recognize that we haven't always done a good job as Republicans standing up for the principles that we profess. And I leave most of that, I put most of that blame on the consultants and on the people in Washington who think that they know so much more than us folks out here in the country. I can tell you they do not have the recipe for the resurgence of the Republican Party, and they're recommending that we need to abandon our principles if we ever want to win elections again in the future. Do you know that after Watergate, the Republican Party actually thought about changing its name because they thought there was no way anyone would vote for a Republican again after Watergate, that the party was done, they got killed in 74, they thought they were going to lose in 76, and people were telling them, you're just done. Well, they kept the name, and a few years later, Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States. Don't think that somehow we can't win in the future. We can win in the future. We have to do some things better, some of the things that you're working on the grassroots level, and I think we have to have a better message to connect with people in terms of the economy. I think that the reason why Romney had trouble with some groups of voters wasn't because of immigration or this or that. It was because Obama successfully defined him as a rich guy who didn't care about anybody else. If you looked at the exit polls, they said 82% believed that Obama cared about people like them. Only 18% thought Romney did. Now, Romney's done more for charity than probably all of us combined. Right. Obama's never done anything for anyone but himself, and yet 82 to 18. So the good thing about that is it's actually something that you can correct and you can manage. But that is really what it is. Being true to these principles, applying them in ways that show the American people that we have solutions to fix what ails our country and to put us on a better path going forward. I think that we can do it. When I look around the Congress, the people who are in the younger generation and who are good are almost all Republicans. Whether it's people in the Senate like Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, or many of my colleagues in the House, when you look on the Democratic side, you see dinosaurs. You see Harry Reid, you see Nancy Pelosi, Charlie Rangel. I still see the ghost of Barney Frank walking around. They are not a party of the future. They are reflexively holding on to unsustainable government, European-style welfare state, and spending that we can no longer afford. So we are the only ones that can even be in a position to offer solutions going forward. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. We're not going to be able to solve it out of the House overnight because we don't have the numbers right now. But I think what we can do is continue to push for the policies that we believe in, knowing that Mr. Obama is probably not going to agree with us on a lot, and we can make sure that we use our authority in the House to hold this administration accountable for their actions. And if we do that, if we do what we say we're going to do, I think 2014 will be good, and I think 2016 is going to be much better for us than people say. You know, some journalists in Washington say, oh, you guys just want to do Benghazi because you're worried about Hillary in 2016. I'm not worried about Hillary in 2016. They said in 2008 that she couldn't be beaten. She lost to someone who no one even knew about 4 years ago. She is not a good candidate. Trust me. We will be able to beat Hillary. So I would just close by thanking everybody again for your time, effort, for attending tonight, and for what you will do in 2014 and 2016 for the people in this county, the state of Florida, and throughout the country. And I'll just say that when I think about the crossroads that the country's at, I think about Benjamin Franklin walking out of the Constitutional Convention, being approached by an old woman who asked him, Dr. Franklin, what have you given us, a republic or a monarchy? Franklin said, a republic, ma'am, if you can keep it. We can have the best Constitution in the world as we do. We can have the best Declaration of Independence in the world than we do. But ultimately, those things do not run on autopilot. They require us to be out there defending this stuff, articulating these principles, and being willing to stand for these things. I have no doubt that you will do that, and I can tell you that I sure as heck am going to do it too. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Special presentation from Congressman.
This is the centerfold of your program tonight. It's a very beautiful document, so we had it framed, and we want to present this to the country. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, sir? We're done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Oh, wait. Stop. Freeze. Wait. He's got something to say.
I will bring Marco Rubio to town in late October in another event similar to this. So we're going to have 2 dinners this year, and we will have Marco Rubio here late October. You'll be hearing